Hello everybody, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is ChitChad and welcome to another installment of the ABC Art Challenge. Today we are going to be drawing Gengar for the letter G. Because I'm still in a bit of the Halloween spirit, I know it's not October anymore, but I drew this before Halloween, so we're just gonna say it still counts. And besides that, Gengar is actually one of my favorite Pokemon. He's quirky, he's expressive, a little bit psychotic looking, and what's not to love? I don't have a lot of ghost types that I'm really fond of, except for the newest one that came out that looks kind of like Pikachu. That one's adorable, but as far as OG Pokemon are concerned, Gengar and Haunter were some of my favorites. And it was always a really hard toss-up for me because I really like Haunter and I really like Gengar. And whenever I got a Haunter, I was so like hesitant to evolve him because I really like the design of Haunter. But I also like the design of Gengar, and Gengar's stats are kind of ridiculous, so I always had like a little bit of trouble, like, oh, do I really want to make the trade in order to, because if you don't know, the only way, at least that I know of, that you got Gengar, at least in the original games, was that you had to trade him. You had to trade Haunter for another Pokemon, and in the trading process, he would evolve into Gengar, and then hopefully that person would trade back with you so that you can get your Gengar. I don't know if there's a different way in order for him to evolve now, but that's the only one that I know of. And I didn't want to just draw Gengar because he's so simplistic. I wanted to draw his other evolutionary forms, so we do Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar. I even considered drawing the new Mega Evolution form of Gengar, but I think I'll save that for like another piece, another day, just because I didn't want to have too much going on in the composition. And just having these three characters, even though they're simplistic, it did add to the total amount of time that it took for me to actually finish this piece. I almost said complenish this. I combined finish and complete into complenish. Oh, you're gonna have to forgive me. I have not been getting a lot of sleep lately, just because I've been trying to keep up with things, making videos, and I just got my computer back recently. It had to go into computer hospital and get some components replaced. I have jumped from an i5 motherboard and processor to an i7 motherboard and processor, and let me tell you what, it's been amazing. Like, I didn't think it was gonna be that big of a difference. It's like night and day. It's ridiculous how more just efficient everything is now, and I'm just able to get things done so much faster. And it was the only way that I was able to complete the cover song that I did on my previous video upload. If you haven't seen it, I did a cover of This Is Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas because it's one of my favorite movies, not just like for Halloween's sake, like a Halloween movie. It's just one of my favorite movies. Just I would watch it any time of the year. Doesn't matter. It's a great movie. So I had a lot of fun with that, but getting my computer back and having it be upgraded was like the only way that got done, because by the time I finished that recording, there were so many layers of dialogues I recorded for each character, and at some points there was like 6 layers of audio per section, and on my old computer that would not have been possible. And even with drawing, I've noticed that I'm able to upscale a bit more, because with the Falco piece, I mean, normally when I'm drawing, I like to draw at a resolution of 300 DPI, and DPI just stands for dots per inch, and it's just the amount of information per given increment. So in this case, it's inches. And normally I like to draw it at 300 because normal printing, sometimes you can go down to like 72. Normal printing, like they'll downscale it a little bit. You know, if it's a higher quality printer, the resolution will look a little bit nicer, but I like to draw really, really large so that, you know, maybe small, minute, like things that maybe say they're like, they won't really be mistakes, but maybe they're just like small details. They'll kind of get smashed down, and say, for example, you're drawing a really complicated character or one that's very geometric, and let's say your lines aren't perfect. Well, once it gets smashed down, it'll look better. You know, so you draw big and then it gets stale down. That's why I like to work in Adobe Animate, is because you can draw things up at such an infinite large scale, because it's vector, and vector basically just means that it's calculated by the computer, and therefore it doesn't have a set resolution or a set size. It's whatever you want it to be. But once I convert that over into a PNG and bring it over into Photoshop, that's when I have to actually set the resolution. So I like to work at 300 DPI, but with some of the pieces, such as Falco, as I was trying to say earlier, with Falco, I actually had to downscale it to, I think, 200 or 250 DPI. And I don't like doing that, but it was just because the image itself was getting so cumbersome in terms of how many layers I was using. My computer was actually slowing down. And normally it would perform okay, but coupled with it also processing and recording, it slowed things down to a crawl. And it's not really noticeable in like a speed paint because I'm multiplying the playback speed, you know, to like 12 times that of normal. So you don't really notice if it's a slowdown. But for me, it was like every brush stroke, I had to wait for the computer to kind of calculate that stroke, sit there, watch it literally perform the stroke after I had already done it, and then keep moving forward. So I had to downscale it. But with this this new i7 processor motherboard, man, it is so good. It's so nice to actually be able to draw and not be hindered by anything. And I'm sure I'll test the limits of it eventually. I was testing the limits specifically for some of the rendering stuff because I want to do some more animation in the future, especially in conjunction with my gaming channel, because I'm doing like Planet Coaster stuff and I want to do animations for the parks that I'm building, the theme parks that I'm building. But rendering's just been a humongous issue. So now I've been putting the computer through the paces and opening up like the largest files that I have, the most cumbersome files, layer heavy files that I can find. And so far it's doing pretty stinking good. Especially I've been doing the same thing with the recording software while opening up all these things and doing really heavy-ended processing. I've had the recording software going at the same time as just testing it, and it's only peaked out once. Whereas before on my old i5 system, it was peaking out constantly. Like, even if I was recording from my Xbox One when I'm doing like a Cuphead or a Sonic Mania, it was still peaking out. Now, I'm not getting any of that. Like, the only thing that's happened so far is like a weird webcam issue, but I don't know if that was just the webcam or what, but that was the only thing, and I don't think that was like the computer's fault. I think that was just something weird going on with XSplit, which XSplit's the program that I use to record everything, and that platform, it can be a bit problematic. Sometimes I just want to go back to OBS because OBS is more simplistic, but XSplit, you know, I've kind of grown to love it, but I just wish it didn't always. Every time there's an update, there's something wrong with it, at least for me. So I don't know if I'm just having bad luck or if it's just like XSplit needs to like vet their updates more. And because I swear it's like Adobe, you know, the platform that I work with in you know, doing all these paintings. Like, every time Adobe sends out an update, I swear something has been broken. Adobe Animate / Flash, that constantly happened, and they were actually pulling features out of Adobe Flash because either they were breaking things and just didn't want to fix it. For example, the Bones tool. The Bones tool allowed you to do like an IK sort of thing where you can actually link character pieces to bones. You can actually build them a skeleton structure, a skeletal structure, so that you can actually do kind of like an IKFK sort of rig with them. And it was really cool. Like, it wasn't quite there yet when it was first introduced, but there was something there. Like, you could definitely see that there was something there, and it would have been a really cool feature to have. And then a couple of updates later, it was gone. They just removed it entirely. And I was like, oh, what? Like, why? Don't just remove features just to remove features. Like, work on it. Like, there was so much effort and there was so much like buzz about it when it came out. Because it was a huge animation thing. Like, you know, it was the stepping stone between 2D and 3D, because 3D, everything works with, you know, a skeletal structure inside of a character. Everything works with having some kind of interior rig. So to like just put that in and remove it, it was just weird. It's back in now, but like, I don't know, just computer things. Why am I even talking about this stuff? I don't know. I'm trailing off as always. I can never stay on topic. That's why my name is ChitChad. I will just talk people to death. Just like Gengar. Anybody remember what was that episode with Gengar and Gengar, Gastly, and Haunter, and then they like, did Ash like died? Ash just like straight up died in that episode, and he was just flying with like around with them as a ghost. Him and Pikachu. They both died in that episode. That was so bizarre. Gosh, I'm really remembering that now. It was an old episode. That was like way back when. Yeah, real quick for like Gengar, you can see like I was going back and forth like trying to change up the eye color, and I actually sent a picture to some of my friends and even my girlfriend. I'm like, what do you think looks better? Green, yellow, red? I'm not sure, because obviously this isn't the actual eye color for Gengar, but I wanted something that was a bit more pop, a bit more pizzazz than what it would have been just normal. I even thought of just doing like black and white, but I really wanted another like secondary color in this piece because it's just really dark, and I felt like if it was either like green or yellow, that would really help define each character just a little bit more, because really they're only just different shades of purple. you know, and that's just not a whole lot to work with. I mean, Gastly has a bit of his like his ghostly, you know, contrail, his like ghostly essence that surrounds him, but I actually ended up using that for all of the ghosts just because I needed something to kind of differentiate them from the background a little bit more without using too many different colors or saturations. So I think that worked really well, and you'll see it when we get kind of more towards the end of this recording of this speed paint. But once again, I'm utilizing that really heavy brush for the shading again, which I really like. I really like a lot, and especially because I think it's kind of like full circle, because I kind of got inspired to use this style from old Pokemon drawing. So now that I'm drawing Pokemon, I'm just like, oh, you know, full circle kind of works out that way. And I think it was the other one that I did Pikachu. I did a Pikachu speed paint way back when, before I even started doing the ABC challenge, which I'm really excited. Because the first time I tried to do this challenge, I didn't get past, well, I did A for Aku, and then I didn't do any other ones. I actually recorded the B, which was Beast Boy from Teen Titans, but I never actually finished the video, and so much time had passed, and I'm like, this isn't even relevant anymore. So now that I'm at G, I don't know, I just feel like, you know, small accomplishments, and I'm really happy with how this whole thing's been turning out, and that I've been evolving a little bit as an artist. You know, I really run into the habit of not drawing as often as I should, and that's probably one of the best things I can say. If you were like, want to be an artist, if you want to get into art, just constantly be drawing, because once you stop, like, it's really hard just to pick it back up again, unless you're just, you know, I'm sure there are people that can do that. They can just stop drawing and then just pick it up like it was nothing, like, you know, riding a bike for some people. But I guess for me and some of the artists that I know, if you kind of like stop, it's really hard to kind of get back into the swing of things. And for me, like, I would go weeks without drawing anything, just because I would get hung up on doing something else, whether it would be like animation or, you know, editing videos. Especially at my previous job, like, that's all I did was do like motion graphics and edit videos. And when you're just doing that all day, it's really hard to find time to draw. But that's really more of an excuse on my part, because it's not that difficult to just have a sketchbook with you handy and just doodle anything. Like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be a full rendered piece. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm just doing full rendered pieces. But don't think that you have to do that. Like, just sketch something. Like, it doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing in the world. It could just be a sketch. It could just be like a tutorial kind of thing, you know? You could just watch something and learn a new technique and just try it out that way. Like, for this whole brush stroke thing, I didn't just start using that out the gates. Like, I practiced it on another like trial piece a couple times before I started recording. And even before every recording session that I do, when I'm doing these pieces, I do a little mini sketch first. And you don't see that because it's not really part of the video. I just draw whatever's on my mind, you know, and just a little mini sketch to kind of get warmed up, and then I start recording. And I do that kind of process for pretty much anything. Even, let's say, gaming, you know, I'll play a game for like a minute or two before I actually start recording anything, you know, just to kind of like get into the flow. Same with doing voice acting. I do like a little mini script in my head, doing a couple different voices ranging from high to low, just to kind of get into the swing of things, warm up the vocal cords a little bit. Same thing with the singing stuff that I've been doing. I will sing the song once or twice completely before I'll actually jump in and start recording it. So it's the same thing, same principle with doing artwork. I just like to do a little mini sketch before I actually jump into things, just to go with the flow, because there's nothing more frustrating when you are recording something and it's just not working. And the best way that I've learned to kind of counteract that is just to, like I said, just do a little trial piece, just do a little like warm-up round, and then hopefully everything will go well. But there will always be those times where just something's not clicking, something's not working, and that's totally okay. It is okay. I noticed that for me, I will get really frustrated, because I'm like, I know that my skill set should be at a different level than what it currently is, and I'll get frustrated with myself, but that's not productive. And so if you need to take a break and step away from something, you can do that. Like, I've seen so many people burn themselves out because they're just constantly go. But it's okay to like step back every once in a while, you know, refresh and go back at it again with like a new pair of eyes, you know, and like a refreshed mind and just a whole new outlook. And sometimes things just work better that way. I can't tell you how many times I would like sit at a drawing and just try and make it work and just keep you know, editing it and changing it and just getting more and more flustered. And then the next day I'll come back and be like, why was that even a thing? I totally know what I got to do now. And then it's perfectly fine from there. I would say I have that more often in animation than anything else, just because you could get so sucked into animating something and not really notice how much time has passed. I can't tell you how many times I have sat at the desk that I'm sitting at right now in front of this microphone. I've sat at this desk and hours of the day just disappear. And just recently when I was doing the cover for This Is Halloween, I didn't have breakfast, I didn't have lunch, I didn't have dinner. Like, the day just disappeared because that was a solid day of production. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing to do. Like, definitely step away every once in a while. But for me, I get tunnel vision every once in a while. And I guess I like to call it like hyper focusing. And everything else in the world just kind of disappears. You know, you get kind of the blinders. And sometimes it can be okay to do that when, like, as long as you're not doing anything that would, like, hurt yourself, you know, like I didn't realize how hungry I was until I actually started eating. I was like, holy cow, this is the first meal that I've had today, and I was starving, and I didn't even realize until I was actually eating. I was like, wow, I was actually pretty darn hungry. So it's good to be productive, but it's also good to take breaks, I guess, is the short version of that very long explanation. It's okay to take breaks, it's okay to step away every once in a while, but definitely always, it's about consistency, I think, more than anything else. And that's also the YouTube game in general, is about consistency. Consistency. I cannot say that word. Holy cow, it's about being consistent. Jeez, I don't know why I couldn't say that word. Every once in a while, my brain just kind of farts, and then I just can't say something. Consistency. Consistency. I hope no one spell checks me, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. Just gotta spell it in my head before I say it again. Anyways, going back to the illustration, one of the things I was having a really hard time with was differentiating between Gengar, Gastly, and Haunter, because a lot of the hues, as I was upping the saturation levels, they really started to bleed together. So I was messing around with the saturation levels, and I was doing adjustment layers per individual character to try and help differentiate them. And I was thinking about adding a shadow to Gengar to help him stand out a little bit more, and I think I utilized it towards the end of the piece, but I went back and forth on that one as well. And then I did something that I normally wouldn't recommend, and I actually did a render clouds, just because I wanted a bit of mist in the background. I didn't want to have to draw it or try and find like a PNG of one that was like on the internet or something. I just wanted to render out something really, really quick, kind of modify it, do different opacity setting on it just to get something in there. And then we go back in again, and you'll see this was actually before, this piece was made before I switched to the i7. So as I was drawing the background, I was utilizing a spinning blur effect to kind of make it look like a swirly vortex, almost like a ghostly swirly vortex. And it was slowing my computer down to a crawl, and it was getting real bad. So I wanted to at least try and make my life a little bit easier by just rendering out the clouds. And I don't like using the pre-rendered stuff that Adobe has, Photoshop has. But in this case, because it was just a really subtle background element, I didn't think too much of it. And here's where I started applying the ghost effects, and I went back and forth on different versions of this multiple times, and this was a moment where I myself was getting a little bit frustrated, because I was like, how do I make this work? How do I make it look good? And I was going back and forth on, like, maybe I should add some kind of foreground element like trees and make it look like they're kind of in like a haunted forest, but that wasn't looking too good. So then eventually I went towards that ghost like blur, that vortex thing that I was telling you about. So right now you can see I'm applying multiple layers and drawing over each of these layers with a different color. And doing that, again, you can't tell because it's time lapsed, but oh my goodness, it was not liking me at all when I was doing this. But I think it was a really simplistic background, but it worked really well for the characters. And I'm really happy with how this piece turned out. I would say that I still had a bit more fun with the Falco piece that I did previously, but I really like Gengar and I like ghost type Pokemon. I think they're really fun. I'm gonna try and get away from the video game characters for a while for the ABC Art Challenge and move on to like some other things. H is up next, and I actually at the moment don't have any characters planned for it. I'm looking at the pop figures on my wall to see if any character could represent H, and the only one that I see on my wall is Hawkeye from the Avengers, and I don't want to draw Hawkeye. Like, I don't think I could draw him pretty well, and I don't want to have to draw his bow. So I'm trying to think of what other characters would be good for H. Hellboy would be kind of fun for H. I'm just trying to think of some more off the top of my head. Again, I'm looking at my pop figures and like none of them have the letter H for their name. Sorry, I'm kind of trailing off because I'm literally looking above my head right now and I'm not seeing any. So if anybody's got any ideas for H, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Let's just try and get away from the video game theme for a while. I feel like I've been kind of on that kick, but this is actually the end of the video, so we are going to be moving on to the final looks of the Gengar piece. I hope you like how it turned out. And that is G for Gengar. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. You all are amazing. I couldn't do it without you. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, feel free to check out that video to the top right. And because you're watching a video game related themed art piece, I'm going to assume you like video games. If you want to check out my Let's Play channel, check out the video to the bottom right. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will chat with you later.